Pleasure after presenting the main results of the ESSA blueprints so far. We will now broaden our perspective to other projects of relevance for the steel industry, but also for ESSA. We have four presenters on stage. So the first one is about this another sectoral blueprint, the automotive blueprint called Drives, which started in the first round of the blueprints presented by Jakub Stolfa. Then Klaus is presenting the Clean Steel Partnership, which is a very important part of the ESTEP activities. And Milan Elkerbout will present the Green Steel project. Milan Elkerbout from CEPS. And my colleague, Kohlgrüber, is broadening the perspective a bit more with a project on Beyond 4.0, which is, let's say, covering the perspective of Industry 4.0 on society in general. So let's start now with Jakub. He is a member of the University of Ostrava, a technical university in the Czech Republic, and he's responsible for the skills agenda in the automotive mobility ecosystem. He is the coordinator of the Drives project, which is the automotive sector blueprint, but he is also engaged in Elkerbout. That's a blueprint on batteries for electromobility. And yes, so very much engaged in also, let's say, the overarching perspective of the blueprints. So Jakub, the floor is yours to tell us something about automotive and the Skills Alliance there.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Tony, and good afternoon to everyone. So, and first of all, thank you for having me here today. And secondly, I hope you can see my screen and that I just share. Okay, let me pull it on. And great, there is something on the top, but okay, so thank you very much also for a nice introduction of myself. As said, I'm coordinator of Drives. I'm coming from VSB Technical University of Ostrava. We are also work package leader in our sister project, blueprint project Elkerbout, batteries for electromobility sector. And based on those two projects, with strong endorsement of umbrella associations in the automotive mobility ecosystem, speaking about ASEA, CLEPA, ITERAME, SECRA, representing all OEMs and suppliers in the automotive, tire repair industry or repairs maintenance. We created the wider partnership forming Automotive Skills Alliance as the partnership under the Pact for Skills action in automotive mobility ecosystem. But today, let me please present you a few details about Drives project, and then I tried also pick some points that we can maybe discuss about, I would say, lessons learned or some points that what we see as important. So let's dive into the presentation. So first, some information about what is Drives project. And Drives stands for Development and Research on Innovative Vocational and Educational Skills. And it's, as said, umbrella project funded by Erasmus Plus to establish a new framework for skills and training addressing the future skills needs of the automotive sector across the whole value chain. And we are, as Drives, the blueprint project from the first wave of blueprint projects started in 2018. as first of 5 blueprint projects there. And the project is composed by 24 entities coming from 11 European countries, and it's composed by research, education, training, business, sectoral associations, public entities, and steered by several entities that are chaired by our full partners, as already announced, Umbrella Association, ASEA, CLEPA, or ETRMA. And from the objectives perspective, drives tackle 3 main streams. It's a sectoral intelligence that is focused to analyze and to develop and implement strategy addressing the skills gaps caused by industrial transition and, of course, the rapid transition in the automotive sector. And this is caused, of course, by many drivers of changes. And we have analyzed that and analyzed the impact. We have also analyzed the needed job roles, needed skills, and where the sectoral stakeholders in terms of skills intelligence should be heading to, and what could be the key actions. So I will present you about it a bit later on. Then the second stream is recognition. That's focused to ensure mutual recognition of skills and job roles across the automotive mobility sector or ecosystem. And the third one of our 3 main streams in DRIVE's project is focused to address the skills gaps and prepare the set of training courses. So first, let's dive into sectoral intelligence stream. And of course, we are having there many deliverables, but just to be short and precise, I have selected this word cloud presenting the skills needs that we have identified based on the survey with industry. We have conducted several surveys focused on the different stakeholders, but this one is coming from the industrial perspective. What are the skills needs? And you can see that there is a big focus, of course, on the technical skills and following the developments in the automotive sector, as you can see big data analytics, software development, overall technical knowledge, system integration, mechatronics. But of course, not of course, sorry for that, but what is also interesting from another perspective, on the other hand, there are also big need for the soft skills. So we can see on the slide adaptability, flexibility, learnability, and other soft skills that are important in these days and the changing industry. And that was, as said, one of the selected results, one of the selected analyses, which led us to designing sectoral skills strategy, so-called Automotive Skills Agenda Analysis Strategy and Roadmap that we have released, and we are updating till the end of the project duration. So we have released already second version, and now we will be releasing the third version by the end of this year. And we have defined several key actions there to be taken by the sectoral stakeholders. Of course, due to time, I cannot go to the details of each key action, which has always the description and then set of specific actions that needs to be taken by individual sectoral stakeholders, or are being taken and also supported from DRIVE's project perspective. But we can see there key action 1 and 2 that allow us creating a EU database of training courses with providers, so establishing EU reference recognition skills and job roles. I can speak about that a bit later on. Harmonized approach to education and training. Modular approach is, of course, very important. One of the key action, and focus on all levels of education and training. And of course, it's all underlined by ensure sustainability approach and ensure sustainability of all this collaboration within the automotive skills agenda. So that was the first stream, sectoral intelligence. And in our second stream, training offer, we have focused to deliver directly the content work for upskilling, reskilling of the automotive ecosystem workforce. So firstly, as you can see on the slide, based on the analysis, we have defined 40 job roles that are new or emerging within the ecosystem, and that are being needed for the industry. Some of those, or basically all of those job roles are published on our website, but some of those job roles were adopted also by ESCO to the next update of ESCO database. And basically each job role is set available on the website with all detailed description, which skills are needed for that, and so on and so on. And based on those job roles, we have also created so-called RISE learning platform, where we step on the ground, I would say, and also provide the training courses. So our partnership created or is aiming to create 28 MOOC courses on the RISE learning platform. So far there is I believe 24 available, and we are also having there blended learning courses, so courses with trainer interaction offer. So you can have a look there and check the platform. It's the link is visible on the slide, and I believe some of those job roles or some of those MOOCs could be also at least from the digitalization perspective and so on, applicable for the domain of steel industry. So, and just to mention that those MOOCs are free of charge and could be used directly for upskilling, reskilling, or could be also used, and we are promoting that as by training providers to their courses. So that's something to multiply the effect of that courses that were developed. And then the third theme, recognition of skills and job roles. There we are establishing a pilot version of EU-wide framework for harmonized competencies that will be a reference for upskilling, reskilling of current workforce. And just quickly, the framework will provide continuous update of reference job roles and related competencies for the automotive ecosystem. It's based on ESCO definition, and it's creating some kind of sublayer under the ESCO definition, with of course continuous update of ESCO, but with specific definitions for automotive ecosystem. It's in automotive, in the industry is known competence matrix, that you are having the job roles and skills that are needed for the certain roles in the company, and that's some kind of electronic version of this competence matrix. And on the other hand, it's providing database of available training courses where training providers can register for free and plug in their training courses to widen the offer. To basically, the database is aiming to serve as a single point where you can find variety of relevant courses for the automotive ecosystem. And with that, if the training is plugged in, the training providers can issue the digital badge as form of micro credentials for the training course. I'm going to conclusions. I hope I'm still having some time. as Tony appeared.
2 minutes.
2 minutes. Okay, that's great. So let me just go very quickly. Conclusions, and I was trying to aim to the main questions, key findings related to future skills. But at that, I went through the drives, the results. But what I would like to highlight, of course, also the demand for specific skills, technical skills, but there are also transversal skills that we can also have a look at that and collaborate. And modular training for courses is very important, that to rapidly, to basically be flexible, and training providers with those courses could be quickly reacting on those needs. Focus on all levels of education, but in automotive we are having majority of the people working in the lower level of the education, and we with that massively changing jobs that are there, so we have to focus on that. Recognition, I already spoke about that, and I will always highlight the sustainable pragmatic approach and for the collaboration on European but also on the regional levels. What are the main challenges to improve the future skills? I tried to summarize something for you, but a bit, of course, from the high level perspective, but I summarize it to time, information, finances. Time, industry, and speaking, of course, I believe also about your industry in your sector, but we need to, in automotive, react immediately. The changes happening, it's here. It was also speeded up by COVID impact, and the education system at the member states countries is of course less flexible, and the reaction takes more time. So we are focusing and in the for the low-hanging fruit, which is the professional trainings to upskill, reskill people that are already working in the industry or also coming to the industry, and information. And that's another challenge, to understand what skills, where to aim, to share the best practices, because we are not starting from the scratch, and also those work what we did is not starting from the scratch. There's many interesting and lot of good already gathered information or best practices, how projects were done, upskilling, reskilling in the regions all around Europe. So that's, or around world. So that's something what we need to focus on. And of course, also by the trainings, we have to focus on that the people are, that those are not numbers, but those are the people. So to support the individuals in their upskilling, reskilling, to understand those needs. And then of course, finances. And to finances, I do not need to go to the details, because I believe that we all know that public-private fundings, access to that, and facilitate public and stimulate private fundings to that. And that's one of the last slides, but the best practices I shared what we did in DRIVES, single point of training courses, online available MOOCs, and blended learning, sectoral skill strategy. That's one of the aims of Blueprint, that you are also having set of good practices. That's what we are also having on our platform, win-win solution to industry, to education training providers, to others, to find a solution to have this sustainable collaboration. And what I would like to highlight is, of course, long-term sustainable collaboration within the ecosystem, speaking about the automotive ecosystem. But I'm very happy that I can be here at today's conference, because it's also not about the collaboration within the ecosystem or sector, but the cross-sector collaboration, which is very important, and we are sharing the same basis or having the possible collaborations that is needed. And if I'm not mistaken, Tony, please 30 seconds for the last slide, where we are heading with this sustainable collaboration. As I said, we are the first by Blueprint, and last year was released by European Skills Agenda, and one of the flagship action there is the Pact for Skills action, and we have established Automotive Mobility Skills Alliance as the under the Pact for Skills action, and it's built on our work in DRIVES project. It's built and also will sustain and be linked with the work that we are doing in Elkerbout project. And up to now, we are having more than 70 stakeholders across Europe, focusing on the also regional implementation and what is happening in the regions, and support the regional massive upskilling and reskilling activities and all that related activities around skills agenda. So thank you very much. Sorry for being a little bit longer. You can find more information on our website. You can also, if you are having any additional questions, very happy to answer now today, or just ask me by an email, and I'm happy to get in touch and answer some additional questions, remarks, or thoughts. So thank you very much, and back to you, Tony. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Jakub, for this comprehensive overview. And DRIVES is one of the first sectoral blueprints starting. One short question from my side. You mentioned that the automotive industry is very much characterized by lower levels of education and workers. Is this? Do you have a specific tool to engage them much more in lifelong learning?
That's very good question, because that's the challenge what we are really facing, because you know that of course automotive industry, and as it is also evolving a lot, and there is a rapid change, there are of course needed high-level skilled people, but on the other hand, we are having a mass of people working already now in production or in other parts of the value chain, and their jobs could disappear in following years. And we are really facing that we have to support those people. And what we are speaking in Automotive Skills Alliance is, of course, from the perspective of industry that needs to support this change and knows about that. And of course, big industries could collaborate with its value chain. But on the other hand, there are social partners. It's very important, social partners, to support that understanding of and support that the people will also understand that they need to upskill, reskill. That's something that I'm always saying is not just the numbers that we will say we need to upskill, reskill 2,000 people in this factory, but we need to also have people in the middle. So those are really people. So we are really what is the change, and what we are discussing also in Automotive Skills Alliance is that how to deliver this information to the people that they need to be upskilled, reskilled. So that's real challenge, but there are already projects and happening, and yeah, I can then provide you maybe some further info.
Okay. Yes. Thank you very much for this first presentation. And now I could make it very short. I already introduced our co-organizer Klaus Peters from ESTEP. I know he's very much working on the Clean Steel Partnership. I can imagine that you could present, let's say, a whole day about this activities. But please stay as short as possible so that we have also some time for some questions.
Thank you very much, Tony. I will quickly start sharing the screen and start presentation mode. Voila. And I've also realized that the Clean Steel Partnership is already quite communicated about also in today's event. Gabriele mentioned it, and also in the breakout room 1 by Maria and Valentina. The partnership was covered. So I will introduce a little bit the Clean Steel Partnership and show more information on the slides than I will touch on by my oral explanations. And of course, I will focus on the people aspect and why we call it people and not SSH or something like this. You will identify yourself in the minute. So it's about the Clean Steel Partnership, ESTEP, and people. So diving directly into something like the core elements of the Clean Steel Partnership, it's fully answering this high-level agreement, steel needs you and you need steel, supporting the policy targets we also heard about today, the Green Deal, the twin transition, mitigating climate change, digitization. And we also learned that sustainability is very important, and that's of course also a cornerstone in the partnership. And the name Clean Steel already indicates it's about decarbonizing the steel production in Europe, reaching ultimately carbon neutral steel production. And this, as I also could read today, in this old economy, which will also benefit from an image improvement by becoming carbon neutral, maybe as the first industry sector in the EU. And we have a good starting point because carbon neutral steel making technologies do exist, and within our ecosystem we have world leading players contributing to this, and we also receive quite some significant support in our transformation, despite all the big challenges and hurdles we need to overcome, to be something like an icebreaker for other sectors to follow and to demonstrate that do this transformation, change the point of operation, risking the profitability, that this is possible based on a supporting framework. And here you can see one very important element for all our activities is this renewable energy availability and affordability. So how big is our partnership? It's a 1.4 billion partnership addressing only part of the research need to manifest the technology development for the decarbonization. It's a little bit more than 50%. And as usual, it's a 50-50 public-private partnership, while the private side, of course, committed to add additional activities so that there is a high leverage factor. And it's a full value chain approach, so that, yes, it is a steel-centered partnership, but the impact goes beyond, so that many other sectors, the engineering sector, the energy sector, the chemicals sector, to mention just a few, will be involved heavily. And it's very impact orientated. So we address high technology readiness levels, TRLs, and large scale demonstrators, so that the final step for industrial implementation is de-risk and is much easier to do for the steel producers. And by this, the main contribution in regards to mitigate climate change is the acceleration of these transformation efforts. And this is the outline, the scheme we do. Gabriele announced already that I will touch about our technology pathways. If we start with this green one, we call it carbon direct avoidance, meaning that we get rid of using fossil-based reducing agents to transform the iron ore to liquid iron and finally steel. And there are two candidates, hydrogen and or electricity. And it all depends on the availability and affordability to have this in a sustainable way. And the partnership will have many projects to have large-scale demonstrators. And if we stay with fossil-based carbon, then we will, of course, not emit the process gases into the atmosphere. So therefore, we call it a smart carbon usage. And the one element is to optimize our processes so that we need less carbon. And of course, as much as possible, we can also foresee to replace it by bio-based or waste recycled circular carbon. So plastic recycling is a keyword here, for instance. And then all the carbon dioxide gases need to be captured, and we have then the option to store them or to process them in the CCU approach, for instance, establishing industrial symbiosis towards fuels or chemical building blocks. And all the approaches are framed by the full commitment to reach higher levels of circularity. And one very important example here for the steel is, of course, as you all know, the use of scrap. So steel is a permanent material due to this recyclability. And the common work within the partnership is generated around these famous 12 building blocks, so that we overcome the hurdle of competition compliance limitations. We cannot disclose the real company strategies in joint activities, but we can focus on collaborative research elements and to tackle, for instance, gas injection questions or melting technologies if we switch to hydrogen instead of coal, for instance. And in order to stay impact driven, we defined the budget split according to the areas of intervention, and the areas of intervention are these broad pathways and a combination of them. And finally, it's very important for us, and this is now explained in the next slides. We also consider that enablers like digitization as well as workforce empowerment is a key success element. And to support this statement, I'm sharing now the screenshot from the intervention logic from our strategic research and innovation agenda, where for the global competitiveness of the industry, of course, we also have a performance indicator addressing the upskilling of the workforce, and also some indirect people aspect indicators are well embedded into our foreseen monitoring element. And maybe even more important is money, because money is a language in itself. Here again, you can see now the full 6 pathways. The abbreviations are not the pathways, areas of intervention. The abbreviations are shown here. And as I said, the enablers, digitalization, social innovation, the people aspect are foreseen to benefit from 2 to 3% of the budget of the Clean Steel Partnership. We don't want to say that this is rocket science, but we decided that it is very, very important to give this visibility to the enablers. Of course, many times it will be the situation that we will have projects embedded or enlarged, enriched about the digitalization or the social innovation perspective. But in order to really not forget this and always have a strong hook to do this, it is very important in our eyes to reserve a dedicated share of the budget for this important aspects. And I'm happy that the title of today is Other Findings and Perspectives. So you can bear with me that my background is engineering, and therefore my observations and insights I'd like to share with you are really coming maybe from a little other perspective. So the one element is introduced by this slide, where you can see the organizational structure of ESTEP, which is typical. So the board, and then we have 2 main bodies, the steering group for the platform and the implementation group for the partnership. And we have dedicated focus groups, and one is dedicated to people. And this is the unique setting within ESTEP in order to have always competent experts to contribute to our discussions while preparing for the partnership. And of course, I have to say the partnership will start with the signing ceremony foreseen on the 23rd of June, so in a few weeks' time. And what you can also depict from this diagram is a very flat hierarchy. So we have just a very small board with 4 people, and then the 2 groups. And each member of ESTEP is automatically member of the steering group as well as the implementation group. So in regard to information sharing, to be involved and to have a say, I guess that's one of the smallest hierarchies we can think of. And in the partnership board, of course, all the members are represented in a fair manner. And as we were asked to share some elements, so these key findings, as the partnership is not running, are rather quite general and have already been introduced by a couple of you. I still personally think it's important to, and this I did not hear so clearly by the other speakers, the learning goes with an effort. And there is some tendency, at least from my understanding, that people like to have everything as easy as possible, which is a fair point. But if you want to learn something, there is an effort linked to it. And the other element is the world is becoming more and more diverse and complex. So the understanding of the various faculties is becoming a real challenge, and the communication is more and more important, and therefore, for instance, have always in our group discussions, the people aspects is helping very much. And also from my observation, the speed of change is rather increasing. So that we come to this again, the time difference between when you recognize the need for new skills and the availability of these skills, I think will become a real challenge. The element of COVID-19 is twofold. We also have the positive perspective that in the future, we will have a much easier use of these remote settings as we have today. And what I'm still lacking, and maybe you can give some advice, how to overcome the essential measures and outcomes of these coffee breaks we do normally have. This informal exchange in the breaks, how could we compensate for this in this remote setting? Any ideas? Very welcome for this. And the last slide with some concluding remarks. The first one, the time difference I already mentioned. The second is also the resist to change. So we are talking about lifelong learning, and the reason for this is that the environment changes. And I guess there are a reasonable number of people who feel comfortable the way it is. And one example from our ESTEP work, for instance, is highlighted in this bullet point, where we still have permanent focus groups, as we call them. We discussed also a very open network of experts, or so that whenever we have a dedicated task, project, objective to be tackled, we will gather the best experts to accomplish this. But the clear message was that's not the preferred option from the members. The starting point should be a more static approach, with a clear commitment to interact whenever possible and needed in a matrix approach. And yes, to be inclusive, this we do by the very flat hierarchy, and really give a low hurdle or no hurdle at all to include these important people aspects. We did this by the focus group people, as well as by the 2% budget allocation in the enablers. Thank you very much for your attention. And one element we can say, what is illustrated here, it needs much more skills than painting skills to master the transformation challenge of the steel industry. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much, Klaus. I have to say that, for instance, you mentioned that this is the only European technology platform with a focus group people, and that is, let's say, from our perspective, very much helpful. We are working in the focus group people and in the ESSA project very closely together with the technological oriented engineers and so on in the focus group smart factories, and we think that we join our forces also in what I mentioned in the beginning, the observatory we are planning. Okay, any questions directly to Klaus? I forgot to ask also after Jakub's presentation. If not, we are a little bit running out of time, so I will move to the next, quickly move to the next speaker, which is Milan Elkerbout. He's a coordinator of the Clean Steel Project, not the Clean Steel Partnership, the Clean Steel Project at CEPS, and he is focusing very much in his expertise on climate policy, but also emission trading systems. So please, Milan, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Antonius, and good afternoon to everyone. It's a pleasure to join you all today. I will just get started with sharing my presentation now. Normally that should work now. And yes, indeed, we are working as CEPS, as a think tank in Brussels, on the Green Steel project, together with a number of research consultancies such as CSM, BFI in Germany, Idonial, and we are covering different elements of steel sector transformation in line with climate neutrality. So looking at the technological pathways, the investment needs, and also importantly, the different policy options to eventually get there by 2050. So that's also the background for my comments today. What needs to happen by 2030, but especially by mid-century. We first have a new updated intermediate target of at least minus 55%. For the ETS sectors such as steel, that will probably become an even higher target because of the split between ETS and non-ETS sectors. So some industrial emissions reductions will definitely need to happen. In theory, with emissions trading, they don't have to be in every sector, but given the importance of the steel sector, we're likely looking at that as well. And there's also the overlap with the investment cycle in the sector, which means that very significant investments, whether green or not, are set to happen anyway. So how can we make that happen, that by 2050 we have a sector in line with climate neutrality? There's different paths to them. Klaus earlier also referred to many of them in a comprehensive way already. But no matter how you see the balance between different pathways, there's a few things that seem a near certainty. One of them will be this enormous increase in renewable electricity and direct electrification whenever possible. In steel, of course, it is one of the sectors where direct electrification might not always, or not to the fullest extent, always be the most attractive option. So there needs to be more integration with hydrogen. And then the question is, where will it come from? You have the color discussion on it. But in one scenario, green hydrogen is seemingly very attractive, but you need even more renewables then. And blue hydrogen depends on carbon capture and storage, which is increasingly emerging, but not really fully there yet, at least at scale. So CCUS is also an option for the steel sector as such, and can also be attractive for being perhaps a bit less rigorous in how much the production processes changes. But there's also some downsides to it in that you might still have a little bit of residual emissions you then need to address through different ways. So what does this mean for skills, the topic of today? There's a just transition element on reskilling and upskilling of the workforce. And I guess this is very important also because there is a real certainty and inevitability of a sector and even the industry and the wider European economy, which will be in continued transition to, well, slowly move towards climate neutrality over the next 3 to 4 decades. So not a lot of stability, unfortunately, and that means that the workforce also needs support in helping to adjust to that. And lifelong learning comes up here, but also more horizontal profiles in general, because there might be these shifts to different production methods increased digitalization, which can also help with optimization, but also the integration in more circular value chains, which will become increasingly important. So a few key findings or conclusions then, getting a bit more into some of the specificities. There are a number of production pathways that are clearly just radically different, or which will also need to really increase massively in skill, and that will have its impact on the job market. Direct reduced iron, and in combination with hydrogen, will be a very prominent one. The whole CCUS value chain, but there's also a few more experimental technological pathways which might not materialize, but could have some potential. An example could be molten oxide electrolysis. So in all these value chains, there will be enormous demand for new jobs there. I think another element here is the inevitability at the EU level, at least of a negative emissions strategy. And given that CCUS is considered one of the prominent options for steel sector decarbonization, the use of bioenergy with carbon capture and storage could then also be one of the ways in which climate neutrality is eventually attained. However, the use of biomass in industrial processes comes with its own set of challenges, so that needs to be accounted for. Then there is this other side of the twin transitions on digitalization, and there's a lot of examples of how all these different digital trends can support the daily operation of the steel industry, with big data for quality assurance, Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, additive manufacturing. What these things can really achieve is increased efficiency and optimization. However, when set against the energy transition, what we then need to keep in mind is that we need to make sure that the future carbon and climate neutral types of steelmaking, that they will become extremely optimized, efficient, cost competitive, because they may, at least for some time, will need to compete with conventional steel, both inside and outside Europe. So this digital challenge is also really an opportunity to make sure that the competitiveness of the industry is optimized, so that the industrial transformation and emissions reduction become more feasible. So what are then some potential barriers that could make this difficult? I think from the just transition perspective, there is a strong regional dimension to this as well. Some of the ways in which steelmaking can be done in a climate neutral, compatible way require very different types of energy input or infrastructure than are used today, and the geographic conditions may matter a lot. We see this especially with not really being a coincidence how many steel projects there currently are in the north of Sweden, even though it's not traditionally a dominant region for the non-iron part of steel production. Finally, just some concluding remarks on what we have been doing in green steel. Then the project has been running almost for a year and a half now, and we combine an analysis of technological pathways for decarbonization along with an analysis of all the finance and investment needs, and then we look at what policies can actually get us there. And by early summer, we should be finished with them. So hopefully a lot of these reports then will also be very useful to many of you who are listening today. So with that, I will hand back over to you, Antonius, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Milan, for this insight in the Green Steel project. One short question from my side. You say you are saying that there will be also new jobs concerning the technological development and change in the production process. But a lot of investment we saw also at the presentation of Klaus Peters. A lot of investment is done in technological changes and development. Do you have any idea how to place the skills adjustments high on the agenda, or to keep it on the agenda?
Well, it does seem that it is on the agenda, but it is on the agenda in a very high-level way. There is a new staff working document by the European Commission on clean steel in Europe. They have a section on skills, but not a lot of detail there, whereas some of the things we heard today clearly go much deeper into the sector. So I think if there are more concrete examples of what the implications of certain investment decisions are that are clearly triggered by 2030, 2050 climate targets, what then also needs to be taken into account from the jobs and skills market. I mean, there will certainly be interest in that. And just next month, the European Commission will come up with 12 legislative proposals, many of which will also impact the steel industry. So there will be a lot of avenues, I think, to pursue these points.
Okay, thanks. Yes, that means that we still have to move on to keep it high on the agenda, and that's beyond all the technological changes. We have not to forget the people, as Klaus said, as an enabler of the technologies. And okay, so thanks for the first impression about this project and your relation to skills. Last but not least, we are coming a little bit to the end of the conference. Of the first day of the conference, may I introduce my colleague Michael Kohlgrüber in English. He's a senior researcher at the Social Research Center at TU Dortmund University. Very much engaged together with me to implement social innovation processes and to integrate technology development in these such processes. And he is focusing on socio-technical system development as well, including the perspective of employees and their representatives. Michael, please start your presentation.
So now you can see and hear me, and I will share the screen now. So thank you for the nice introduction and the opportunity to present shortly the project Beyond 4.0. Okay. Try to open the full screen. So now it should be working. So Beyond 4.
Michael, you have the presenter mode.
Oh, yeah. Better now?
That's fine. Fine now.
Okay, fine. Beyond 4.0 is a project that is quite broadly designed, dealing with the socio-economic consequences of digitalization on workers and society. So it's quite broad, including the topic of future skills, but still going beyond. And it aims to deliver an inclusive European future, which means that digitalization should nobody leave behind. In general, the people that might at risk by automation, by digitalization, to lose their job, but also to include the vulnerable groups that might be especially at risk, such as migrants, female and older workers, young people without degrees, and so on. So there was a special focus on inclusive approaches, and yeah, it's funded under the Horizon 2020 program. It started in 2019 and will be continued until 2022. And 9 research partners are engaged in this project, so it's more scientifically related and not that much directly on industrial influence. And this project is coordinated by TNO in the Netherlands. So we at Dortmund University are leading the work package on future skills, which is one of all the work packages in the project. And one of our tasks is to develop a categorization, which skills are needed in the future facing the digital transformation. And as already mentioned before by Jakub, it's not only up to digital skills at different levels, but also at the so-called soft skills are also required, which include the personal skills such as adaptiveness, willingness to learn, open-mindedness, and so on, the social skills of collaboration and communication, and methodological skills, which include skills such as problem solving or creative thinking. And what is often neglected at EU level or national level is that also professional skills play a vital role for digitalization, especially in combination with digital skills. So what are our key findings? It's quite easy to identify skill demand. You can find many reports on it, which skills are required, but we are trying to compare it with the skill supply, which skills are provided by the vet systems and so on. And there are some general statements in report we could find that there is a skill shortage in terms of ICT professional, but also related to social skills, methodological skills. But this is very general, and it is hard to compare what is the demand for skills and what is the supply. And one exception is on basic digital skills, where we could find a number that in nearly all jobs, about 90%, at least basic digital skills are needed, but only 58% of individuals in the European Union is possessing these skills. And what we could also find is that progress is very slowly, because this share of 58% has increased by 1 percentage point within 2 years. So despite all the effort of the European Union and the member states, progress is quite slowly. And what we also could find is that the responsiveness of that national vet systems to the current digital transformation is very different. Some are completely reforming their vet systems, others have defined processes from anticipating skill needs to providing the related skills, and other countries have many projects and initiatives, but there is a lack of evidence what measures are really effective, and in general, what is the contribution to skill providing for a whole country or for the EU. That is something we could not find. What is worth to mention is that the responsiveness of national web systems has an impact on skill shortages, because companies in countries with a high responsiveness of web systems are less likely to be facing skill shortages and difficulties to fill vacancies. And in case of skill shortages, one could argue the supply side, the web providers, are only to be addressed to provide the right skills, but this is not the full truth, because also the demand side, the employers are required to create framework conditions so that that skill shortages can be tackled also by the employers. So some reports emphasize that there is a difference between genuine skill shortages, because the right skills are not developed, and other skill shortages which are caused by hiring practices, working practices, by remuneration, working times, and last but not least, the opportunities for employment of female and older workers in companies really affect the difficulty to fill vacancies. So the employers really have the possibility to tackle skill shortages, not only by addressing the web providers. And to conclude, what can ESSA learn from beyond 4.0 is the combination of professional skills and the digital skills is very relevant. On one hand, because it's an essential feature of Industry 4.0 to have a strong connection between the physical processes and virtual processes. This has to be integrated, and this has also to be covered by skills. And taking into consideration the daily work of operators, they often make decisions based on experience-based work. But now, when more and more data are available and analyzed, they have to take these data into account and to better combine data-based and experience-based decisions. So this might be a challenge also for ESSA. And what we also could find is that web providers, web systems are not flexible enough to respond quite quick to the transformation. And this has to be compensated by the employers themselves. They have to train the digital and also transversal skills they need for their workplaces. And when doing this, they are required not only to invest in use of digital tools for learning, but also include innovation in pedagogy, such as project-based learning, work-based learning, learner-based education, because in these kinds of learning approaches, it is becoming possible that learners are combining problem solving by using digital skills and also by using their professional skills. Another point I would like to emphasize is that there is a need for collaboration of relevant actors at a regional level. I know you are already doing this in the ESSA project, and from the perspective of Beyond 4.0, we can only confirm that, because there are many projects and initiatives on overarching level, EU level, national level, and you can find approaches such as Education 4.0, VET 4.0, very good, very interesting, but on a high level. At classroom and workplace level, it's up to individual schools, teachers, trainers to really provide those skills, to use digital schools and so on. And despite these efforts of individual trainers and teachers, there was a lack of coordination and lack of support from an overarching level. So what is really missing is an intermediate level between system and classroom level. And from our point of view, this could and should be at the regional level as regional skill ecosystems. And last but not least, the whole discussion is often about skill shortages, on skill imbalances, and this can also be tackled by the companies themselves, not only by providing the right skills, but also by providing job opportunities for female and older workers, for migrants. This could also help to tackle skill shortages in terms of digital skills, transversal skills, and so on. So, thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Michael, for this very useful last slide. I think the ESSA will be very much related to these hints you provided. I'm sorry, we are really at the end of the conference. I hope you of the first conference day. I hope you have 5 to 10 minutes to finalize it, to finalize this first day. And please allow me to ask one question to all the speakers of this last round by asking to answer just with one word. So that's very challenging. And the question is, what is the main trigger from your perspective to promote the skills adjustment and the skills needs? One word. What comes to your mind? Maybe you can start, Michael?
COVID.
COVID, okay. The next one?
Sustainability.
Milan? Sorry?
I propose sustainability.
Sustainability. Milan?
Investment.
Investment. And Jakub?
That's very hard to change or transformation.
Okay, yeah, so very interesting. 4 different perspectives, 4 different top issues. Okay, then thank you very much.